Associate.
People's.
Hello, welcome to the first episode of Ostrich Running and Chocolate Milk Podcast. Collab. Yes, so this is gonna be the squad. We're in Flagstaff, Arizona, and we're just gonna be talking about running related stuff while drinking chocolate milk and enjoying some good vibes. So the first episode, or the first thing I want to talk about is getting pegged gay?
Oh my gosh. I thought we were being serious. Okay,
You're
just trying to pop it off?
Bro does not know how to unwrap it.
You gotta do a little.
True, I should have flipped it off. We gotta get a cheers. We gotta start it off
Oh
with
yeah,
a
we
cheers.
gotta start with cheers, mate.
Yeah.
Alright. Let's go. 3, 2.
Cheers to some good days.
Yo.
Oh,
Yo. That was like the wackest clink I've ever seen.
Alright, let's talk about why Flagstaff is better than Boulder as a running mecca.
Higher altitude.
Higher altitude is very valid. I think like Arizona has, or Flagstaff has less distractions than Colorado. I think.
Smaller town.
Yeah, smaller town vibes for sure.
I think that's the problem though.
There's less distractions?
Distraction is good.
In a way.
You need to have that balance. Like in
Yeah,
Flagstaff,
yeah.
like the running community here is great, but I couldn't
That's
see
all you
myself
have.
being here more than a month because
Yeah.
there's not much else to do aside like from outdoor stuff. But I don't want to do all that if I'm running. So I feel like Boulder has a larger area where you can go and do things and find that balance.
I guess. How about you? What do you think?
I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, I think long term, it's better to live in a place like Colorado, like if you're having a whole family and all that. But if you're, you know, if you're like us, and just being a bunch of young bucks, other than Mr. Dad over here, you know, then this
Wait,
is.
should we say Boulder, bro? Should we go Boulder?
Alright, let me head out. You guys have that.
But seriously, I mean, like, it really depends on the lifestyle you're going for. But I agree. I agree with what was said though earlier about how the fact that you just because you have the running, that's not, you need to have some distractions. Like running needs to in a way complement your life as much as we're having goals for it. Like there's other stuff out there that's floating around, right? So you know, because even if you're super ultrally locked in, it doesn't guarantee you anything. So I mean, there's people out here that got other hobbies and such, right? That's why, you know, when we look at these running meccas, it's not just the pros, it's the people that have jobs out here, the people that are balancing, in a way, a second life. So I think that's, I don't know, I feel like having that, you know,
like
extra stuff to do, you know, yeah, in a way, like, you know, having the challenge to balance, because it will never be fully balanced.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's a little bit different for us because we're not pro runners. Like, we work, we have kids. So, like,
Who's me?
I have 2 dogs. You know,
Bro, those are not kids.
those are my kids, bro.
How long have you ever stayed in Colorado for?
2 weeks.
2 weeks longest.
Yeah.
Side note, like New Year's in Denver is sick.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
I've never done New Year's over here in Flagstaff, but
I can't imagine it's as good.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, we stayed in Boulder, or we stayed a little bit out of Boulder, and then we went to Denver for New Year's. It's pretty sick.
Damn,
Yeah.
that's fire. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, for me, like, I would like flag more, because, like, I've been working and running and schooling and, like, doing all this stuff for so long. Like, I think, like, my body and mind would appreciate just being in one zone and not having to balance so much, in a sense.
I definitely enjoy Flagstaff more,
Yeah.
but I can see the positives of both.
Of both,
Yeah.
I think from, like, a lifestyle perspective, Boulder's probably better. But, like, if you're really trying to lock in and find yourself as an athlete, like a place like Flag where there's not much distraction.
Would you say trail-wise, Flagstaff is better? Have you been to Boulder at all?
I've seen videos and
Yeah.
like I've seen parts of it where it looks super deserty and I hate that. But then
like,
like
the forest kind of.
yeah, like like over here is like you just have like a flat like fire road and like just miles on it, which is really.
I feel like there's like better access to that here.
For sure.
Like within 10 minutes, there's like so many different.
Like you're already into the
trails.
nature and like no one's around you except yourself.
And Boulder low key getting like kind of overcrowded.
Is it
It's more
Also-
expensive out there.
it is more expensive. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is
So
true.
it's like the extra stuff comes with that price.
I had a girl text me and she says that she's in Colorado. She says like, oh, like Colorado seems like really cheap to live in. I'm like, no. What are you on? Like, no.
It's definitely cheaper here.
Yeah, 100%. Shout out Flag. So Flag's better, I think, for short term, but long term, Boulder's better.
Yeah, I just couldn't imagine being here more than like a year or two.
Yeah.
Because that other stuff is just like more important, like overall.
Yeah.
Weather-wise, is it like the same, you guys think?
I think it's about the same.
I think Boulder's a little bit hotter.
I
Because
mean,
it's a little bit lower.
Isn't it? I'm pretty sure like Denver, isn't it like the sunniest city in America? Like they have
It
the
is.
most amount of sun
Is
throughout
it
the
really?
year
Never
out of
heard that.
any other city.
Yeah, I'd rather live in Flag just because, like, get monsoons and it rains and it snows out here.
Monsoons, you like that?
Yeah.
Why? Why?
That's my ideal training. I love when I got in a long run and it's monsooning out.
Dude, I grew up in Japan, so it's like, it was like typhoon weather, hurricane weather. It's like nostalgic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I actually, I don't know. I think I like the trees just overall, like consistently. Like, let's say you're going out, you slept in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're going out for a run.
Yeah.
You're going on Buffalo Park. You can at least run under some trees. You got the shade. That's the method.
There's trees in Colorado.
I know. I don't know. I haven't been in Colorado. I don't know. Like,
This
I'm
is first
thinking of like,
time.
I'm thinking about like, you know, the roads were like straight up like you're just out in the open, right?
Yeah.
So
Just make sure. Still recording.
Colorado has a lot of really good like river paths. Like there's a lot of little rivers and like kind of like little ponds and lakes throughout like kind of the urban sprawl.
oh shoot, you just sold me.
And that's
Going
like
to
you don't really have that here.
Yeah. It's very foresty out here, very dirty and forest. And this brings me on to my next topic, which is like, what's like the balance between having some stress in your life and not having stress? Because like as a runner for me, like I worked a lot and I lived a super stressful life. And then like in pockets of it, I found myself so locked in to what I was doing, and it made me like a better runner in a sense. But then at the same time, like that's not like sustainable. So like, where's the threshold for that?
I don't think you can ever find one, like, let's say consistent stress line. It's always going to be up and down. It's never going to be like this linear trajectory, right? So, I mean, you're always going to find yourself in seasons. So if you're a college runner, for instance, right, and you're going through the season of, let's say, cross country, the amount of stress you're going to experience, let's say, in the beginning is obviously going to be a lot less, at least in terms of school, right? Like, you know, it's slowly built up. And then, of course, as you're trying to navigate finals, and if you're trying to go, you know, to nationals, then yeah, that's gonna hit you.
Yeah.
Same thing for if you're managing a job on top of that, right? You got to be able to pay the bills you got that are slowly accumulating, as I've come to realize. And I don't know, just I think understanding that you know your life will have seasons like that. There'll always be some change, and that's at least from what I've seen. Just the fact of school, you guys of course have navigated life past college at this point. So like, what's that look like for you guys? Like, what's the, I guess, the ebbs and flows of stress for you now?
I think routine is a really good thing, in a way. For example, in my life, it's like run before work, run after work, go to the gym, take care of the family. It can be pretty stressful at times, but it's also like I feel like I'm like happy with the life that I'm living because I feel like I'm working hard, and there's like there's like something to be proud of with doing that.
Yeah.
Instead of just like the only thing you're doing all day is running. Like that's cool too, but it's like I feel like you could be doing more with your life and stuff like that. So it's kind of like finding like a balance between, like you said, too much stress and not enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I see it.
Yeah. Do you feel like you have like a new, like a renewed purpose when you had your kids, especially with your running?
Yeah, I would say so. Kind of my shift towards running and my goals now is kind of like figuring out ways that I can make them proud, whether that be hitting a goal or just I don't know, just showing them that anything's possible.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What do you think, Christian?
Yeah, I think when it comes to stress, the one thing I've learned, like through school and like after school, is there's like more things I care about than the amount of time I can give to them.
There's
And
not enough time.
and I think, and everyone has those different things, right? The big ones are like it's either school or work, and then you have like your family, your friends, relationships, your hobbies, obviously then the running. And I think I've learned I can go all in on 2 things very well.
Yeah.
And 3 things is like kind of pushing the limit, but the second I'm like trying to do more than 3 things
Yeah.
well, things start to kind
Something
of fall apart,
starts to
and I
separate.
start getting
Yeah.
overstressed.
Yeah.
So I've kind of learned to like break things into seasons, really, where it's like, you know, when it's like comes to family, friendships, running, school, work, my other little side hobbies, like there's more than 5 things on that plate. Like I can only really pick 3 of them at a time and know it's like, okay, for these 4 months, it's all about work, friends, running, and that's it. And everything else kind of has to go back burner. But I've learned just to kind of like rotate those through different seasons, and that's kept me like able to manage the stress.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I just can't see myself performing well without having some level of stress in my life to keep me accountable in a sense.
I feel that because like I said, I'm like pretty busy like throughout the week, but now we're on this trip where I get 3 weeks off.
Yeah.
It's like it feels good to have that kind of like break.
Yeah.
But then like you got to go back to reality at some point.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm gonna be better and train better because of how much I've been like doing in the past.
Yeah.
I come here, it's a lot easier.
So the habits already. Like,
Yeah,
dialed
exactly.
in.
Yeah.
I respect it. Shout out stress. Hashtag not good for. Is it good for the sport?
Yeah,
It's
I
good
guess
for the
hashtag
sport.
good for the sport.
You just gotta learn
Stress is good for the
how to
sport.
manage it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be there, and you just have to kind of pick your battles.
And I mean, also we have to think about kind of the basic building blocks in terms of navigating a healthy life, right? It's not even in terms of like running, like oh yeah, you're healthy, you're running X amount of miles per week, and yeah, you're healthy. But no, like if you're making sure you're actually sleeping well at night, and you're not dealing with with a lot of those type of issues, or even other health issues that arrive that arrive as you kind of you age, right? Like I got diagnosed with Graves' disease like a couple years ago, and I was like, oh shoot, do I have to quit running? And so I'm in remission of that, but stuff like that can happen. Health stuff and stuff larger than life can hit you, and just getting your nutrition right, at least right enough, right? Getting good correct sleep, and also making sure that your head is above water mentally. And I say head above water because I say that in terms of like kind of a swimming analogy, because of the fact that you're going to be going, sometimes you're putting your head under and then you're going to get yourself back up and get up back up for air, and just head above water is the way to go.
Yeah. And kind of like this will be the last thing that we talk about, is like mental health, because you touched on it a little bit.
Mental health.
Is it a privilege to be dealing with mental health issues? This is a hot subject.
I've thought about this a lot recently, because there's so much you can see on like the internet, right? Like I'll see like a kid eating sand in the Middle East, right? And that's their biggest issue. And I know my biggest issue the other day was like, did I eat too much? Right? So it's like that's not to minimize. We all go through our type of struggle, and we are very lucky. We are very lucky and blessed to be in the position that we're in, that we can take a pause on life, so to speak, to go do what we're doing right now, right? And maybe the biggest stress of our life is maybe just managing what's going on in the grocery store, right?
And producing a podcast.
Producing a podcast, right? So I just, I don't think we can ever look away from it, because people have died, because from very real situations. Although it may seem small, looking at it like, okay, there's a kid, let's say, had mental health issues due to like being on social media too much, or there's kids killing themselves over AI, yikes. But stuff like that, it's very real. And I think as much as we can think it can be silly, in a way, how you phrase it as a privilege, it can be, because that's the unfortunate thing about life. No matter where you're at, you're always going to find something to complain about.
That's true.
So
there's always like something.
But
something.
Right? And in a way, other parts of the world, which we think back to our East African brothers, they are very much content with the lives they live. If you think about, like let's say the Kenyans and running camps, right? Or any other running camps out there, like they live a very simple lifestyle, and they're very blessed and they're very happy with it. And so, I know, and they can find things that that disrupt their mindset, like this is stressing me out, or et cetera, but no, it's can be a privilege, but in a way we can't minimize the fact that it's still very much a real thing.
What do you think, Christian? You're like a pretty big like mental health guy.
Yeah, I mean, hard to say in a short conversation. I mean, I think it's both and, right? I think that's like with all things, I've been learning to look at things more through like a both and lens rather than an either or. Like it both is a privilege and both is a very real thing. I think it's easy to look at like broader picture and look at like, well, they have it worse than me. Like, I shouldn't be tripping. I shouldn't be depressed. I shouldn't be anxious about whatever's going on. But I think also like you learn that like struggle is relative. So it's like the worst you know is the worst you know, and that's gonna manifest itself in a certain way. I think in a lot of ways it has become privilege in the way we can like kind of cater to it sometimes and use it as like a way to, I don't know, cop out of things. But I think in the same way, like kind of related to stress, it's just all how you manage it, right? So I think like the reality is all of us are gonna deal with something mentally at the end of the day. Like all of us go through stuff, everyone goes through life, and it's just a matter of like how are you wielding that like struggle, right? Like, are you gonna use it as something to prevent you from like being the person you want to be, or like use it as like a way to grow and become better? So that's a short response.
Yeah, that was pretty good. You have any last thoughts, Alex?
Yeah, I agree with them. I would just say like, whenever I feel bad for myself personally, I just think about like, kind of how you're saying, like, there's always something worse, or like someone's dealing with something worse, and like we're blessed to live in California, you know, like probably the most coveted state to live in, I would say. So like the things we complain about for the most part aren't that bad. It's just how we grew up, you know.
It's just like it's bad to us.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, you kind of got to look at it from that perspective. Not saying that minimizes people's struggles or anything that we have going on, but yeah, I mean, there's always like a light at the end of the tunnel, I would say, as long as you learn how to navigate mental health pretty well.
Yeah, I think people are just soft. I think mental health is a real issue. It runs in my family.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think so many people like diagnose themselves with like anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
And then they pretty much speak it into existence, and then that's the lifestyle that they live, which is pretty much feeling sorry for yourself in a sense. And like, I don't know, I grew up around a lot of depressed people, a lot of people with mental health issues, and I'm glad I don't face those challenges, but I just don't like how people portray it as something that they deal with when it's half of the time just like them not being like looking at it from like a different perspective.
Like, I feel like it's okay to be down.
Yeah.
Like from time to time, but I don't know, when it like consumes you, that's when it starts getting a little.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, it's like, regardless of what you face, like you have choice in your life.
For sure.
So, and like as someone who struggled with stuff and has known people, like I've seen it in myself and I've seen it in others, when you make the choice whether you're going to let it like consume you or not.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to make that choice to let it consume you, but you can also make the hard choice to not. And yeah, I would agree, a lot of people kind of take the easy route and get soft and let it consume them because it's what they know.
Exactly.
And yeah, society kind of caters to that too. So
Don't be soft.
Right.
So please communicate if you are genuinely doing.
Yeah, if you are actually going through something, please let me know. I'll shoot you resources.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he'll
I
talk to
think
me.
I'll my resources is Christian.
I got
Christian will
all the
say
bugs, I got all the connections, I got all the numbers.
I think the thing we gotta realize though is that at the very least, for let's say we're talking first world perspective, is that with all these mental health issues we do have, I think is perfect. The perfect answer would be to say is that there's answers. You can get help. That does exist out there, and you know that's, you know, God bless for that. So of course people may struggle with getting those resources depending on the situation that they're in, but as Xavier says, there is light at the end of the tunnel, but it does start with the person that does have it. They need to recognize that.
Yeah, you gotta want help. You know what I mean?
You gotta want help.
It's not
you gotta want,
like no one's
you gotta
just
want to
gonna
get
help
an
you.
answer.
Yeah.
And get yourself out. And I speak that from personal experience.
Yes, I think we all have experienced it. So
Shout out D White.
yeah, take the first step to change and be courageous with your own life, and I think you'll be okay. So, amen. I think that's it.
Yeah.
It's the first podcast.
True.
Cheers,
Hell
cheers
yeah.
to the first podcast.
Cheers.
True.
Hell yeah. Bottles.
The empty bottles.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.